Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to open up an asset that I made randomly. But just to let's talk about some things with normal mapping stuff. And this guy is created with kind of just standard, uh, standard modeling. Let me just kind of, oh, good lord, show you guys what it looks like. So now there's going to be a lot more geo in here than what we would typically ever want to deal with in a normal map, but just for the sake of speed and of just getting this damn thing done, I want to show you guys this, and so I'm not going to go through and reduce this. What the hell was I thinking here? Oh well, whatever, it works. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys this just so you guys can kind of see like what would happen, like what would it look like if we were to do this off of a more complicated object other than a box, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and just copy this guy, that way I don't screw him up. I'm gonna hide unselected. Okay, and what the first thing, like, let's assume that all of those support edges have been removed, and we're in the land of everything's hunky dory in terms of poly count. Okay, everything's like we already know what this asset is because we've already pulled it off of the high res. We've kept our stacks and all that kind of stuff intact, so we don't have to rebuild anything, which it can be a huge time saver. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to kind of be a boring talk, but this I do think is important. So I'm just going to show you guys how I would go about doing this. And this is going to require some rework as we do this, okay? So just keep in mind. So when I do normal mapping in general, I'm trying to do a couple things. I'm trying to hide seams. That's kind of like my first thing. Well, that's not really my first thing. I'm trying to think of areas where I know that there's going to be harsh 90-degree edges, stuff that I can cover up transitions with, and that kind of stuff. Now, again, this piece is not a hero asset, but we're going to treat it this way. And I know that there are a myriad of other ways to do this other than doing a high to low poly rip. But for the sake of this, we're going to use this. Let me just see here. Is this the one? Looking for a. Where is that hotkey? It doesn't matter right now. I'll look for it later. So again, when we're laying these things out, it is not always going to be necessary for us to totally relax this 100% perfectly. Max 2017, by the way, for you guys who want to bear through the fresh hell that is the new Autodesk release, you can go ahead and do this edge selecting the exact same way that you could off the poly tool. So this kind of painful click, click, click doesn't have to happen all the damn time, which is really nice. I'm not using it because I am not thrilled with Max 2017, to be honest with you. That's a topic for a different time. It's just an unstable pile of crap right now. So, and that's my opinion. So again, when we're looking at this, it's not always necessary to totally relax absolutely everything. And there are some cases, depending on the technique that you're doing, that you don't want to actually relax everything. If I was to do strip modeling, and again, I want you to check out Alex's tutorial because Alex does a really good job of highlighting a really powerful alternative way of modeling. This is kind of the traditional way of doing doing normal mapping minus using a ton of UV sharing. But if you needed the strips and stuff, you're doing strip modeling, you'd want these surfaces to be straight. You wouldn't really want them to be all bendy and stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, why am I going through and kind of breaking the faces where I am? Basically, any massive planar change, typically, I will just break. It's not a hard and fast rule, but I find that I get a better rip if I do that. So, just take it for what it is. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. Why did that not? Oh, yeah, it did relax. Okay. And again, we're just going to walk all the way through this. So let me turn off the checker because sometimes it's, it's a little painful to look at it inside of there. Okay. All right. It's not going to turn off. That's cool. Whatever. So again, you can watch me just kind of, I have this angle select on, which is helping a ton, just to quickly kind of get the faces. just show you guys this too. Now, I'm going to purposefully not break. Do I want to do that? You know what? I'll just do it for right now. I'm going to break that right there. Okay. Now, again, there's more faces than what there's not more faces. There's a lot more faces than what we need in this guy. Again, all those edge supports and stuff. Again, just to reiterate, those would go bye-bye. You don't need them. So again, when you're trying to figure out what to do for your normal maps, and again, even something like this, realistically, here, let me just show you what we'd end up doing with that. Here, let me just detach this face. Yeah, it's a good angle. Especially on surfaces that shoot into itself, you don't need that geometry in there. Like I would even make the argument in most VR settings, you wouldn't need that kind of information in there. You just wouldn't. So, go ahead and delete it, right? Like, oops, not like that. No, but go ahead and delete it, right? If you don't need to spare the expense for it, why have it in there? And honestly, it does make things easier. Like, the less stuff that you have to deal with, the less stuff you have to deal with, right? So that's always good. There are some areas where I won't obviously do this to everything. I'm just going to go through really quick. And I'll have to remember to put something in there for the high poly. Again, I'm not being optimal with my faces here. I know for a fact that some of you guys are like, what the hell is he doing? He doesn't need any of these extra edges or any of that stuff. And you're totally right. I don't. So again, this kind of a thing we don't need. So let's go ahead and nuke it out. And this is kind of the workflow that I'll do a lot of. Like, I'll even do my optimizations kind of like as I'm working, like I'm doing right now. And it's really helpful. Like, I mean, you really quickly, if I modeled this correctly and, didn't worry about and actually quadded everything out correctly, doing stuff like this is pretty fast, right? You can just kind of go through and really quickly, just nuke out extra edges that you don't need. But since I didn't, I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing this. But, obviously it can be done. Now, the things to focus on, or at least I like to focus on, are big silhouette changes, right? So let me so right here we're going to need to cut this edge over. I don't remember what it does in the high poly, but so it doesn't freak out when we're, it doesn't look right. What did I do there? I don't remember. I don't remember what I was thinking. That's okay. I'll just cut it in like, what was that before, like 2 seconds ago? Oh. So it was that. Okay, so let's just nuke this face. Okay, that'll work for right now. It's not clean, but it'll work. And I'm not too concerned with n-gons, especially, again, this always comes up, and I know there are purists out there that will argue with me on this. Feel free to argue with me all you want on it. That's totally cool. I'm sure there's reasons why, people operate this way. In my experience, though, again, I should go through and clean all this up. But in my experience, obviously all those support edges need to go away, but just for the sake of this demo, we're not going to deal with that. In my experience, though, we do not, for hard surface stuff, as long as it's not introducing crazy shading artifacts, which since given the surface and where this thing's at, it's not going to, we don't need to worry about quadding everything out or trying to triangulate everything perfectly. I know that is not a popular view. I totally get that, and that's cool. Please talk to other people and get their opinions on it. And I'm sure there are instances where I'm totally wrong on that, and I have no problem admitting that. But there are plenty of instances where I've seen people, myself included, spend a shitload of time just wasted on trying to make topology 100% perfect, and in the end, it straight up does not matter. So take that for what it is. I might be totally full of it, I don't think that I am. I've been doing this for a little bit of time, but if you want to stay at the office till 5 in the morning, making sure everything's perfect and you don't need to, that's up to you. Um, I'd assume that you probably want to go be around your family a little bit, but whatever. So I'm breaking again these edges as we see fit, and again I'm doing this in real time, so you guys kind of can get an estimate of you know some of the actual like time elements of this, and it's easier because I don't want to rewatch myself work twice either. I did that for most of this, and I wanted to pull my eyes out. So we'll break that. Again, since it's a 90-degree edge, maybe not 100% necessary to break it, but I'm just doing it just so I don't have to deal with the potential issues later. Wow, there's so many unneeded edges in this thing. It is insane. That's okay. I'm not going to be too OCD about this. I'm going to practice what I've been telling you guys. I'm just going to get this out for the demo's sake. There we go. Flatten that guy. And I mean, there's a time and place kind of for everything. There's a time and a place to be super clean, and there's a time and a place to just get the damn thing done. And there are certain assets, and you'll learn this as you go. Like, there are certain assets that are not hero assets. That are, pieces of rubble, or they're just low-lying, maybe it's a pipe or something that is, as long as you are being intelligent about and you're making decisions about what you're doing, and you're kind of understanding the context of why you're making those decisions. For me at least, especially with the junior artist stuff that I work with, or that I've worked with in the past, I'm all about that. Like, I am totally willing to have that conversation with people and like go, hey, like, why do you think you need this? Like, do you need this? Like, let's have that conversation. Now, there are some dudes who are very authoritarian and they're like, don't have that conversation. I'm not that, so I don't like to work that way either, and I don't like to work with people like that at all. It's very stressful. Reminds me of being like 14. My dad telling me not to listen to Slayer. That didn't work. So as an adult, so I kind of still actively go against that. Don't tell me not to listen to Slayer. I love my Slayer. Their new album was awesome, by the way. It was really good. They did some cool music videos. Pretty violent. It's kind of fun, like a splatter film. All right. And again, since I'm not spending too much time actually optimizing this thing, this is going really fast. It's amazing what happens when you do something totally half-ass, how quickly you can get through something. And that's something too, like, to talk a little bit about, like, since we're here and I'm kind of just doing the same old thing again, I'll maybe, try and talk a little bit about what the hell is that? Oh, it's like a dead edge. Oh, no, it wasn't. What the hell was that? Sorry. As I'm doing this, I'm like, what in the name of the... I get this question asked a lot, and it's always kind of, good to talk about. Like, 3D concepting. Like, what is that? Like, who does that? What is that for? And all that kind of stuff. Now, 3D concepting, there's some guys who are absolutely just brilliant at it. Gabriel's one of them. I can never pronounce his last name. It's absolute murder. I'll murder his name. It's terrible. But there's a lot of really talented 3D concept artists out there, and they do an absolute amazing job on the stuff that they do. But those guys will be the first to tell you that a 3D concept mesh is entirely different than an in-game mesh, okay? Like, or a production mesh for CGI. Like, the requirements are entirely different. And, like, I really recommend you kind of making that distinction on what you want to do. Because when you get into a situation, like in a production situation, and you've kind of marketed yourself as a production artist, and you get into that situation where you're like, oh shit, I don't know how to do this, or I don't want to do this. Like, because straight up, if you don't if you can't find some type of enjoyment on this, I'm doing this to one asset. I've probably done this to like a million assets at this point in my career, right? And there's guys who've done like it to a billion assets. Maybe that's a little exaggeration, but whatever, you get the point. Like, you just make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, right? And if you want to learn it, and you're doing all that stuff too, more power to you. That's all great. But just there's a place for everything, and there's a place for like more concepty modeling. And there's a place for for, traditional modeling. Now, the thing that I think that is most useful about 3D concept modeling, and this is why I like artists who can kind of I mean, I like all artists, but the artists that I find that are the best to work with are the artists that can kind of do everything, is because if you can take a 3D concept and, like, especially for the high-res shit, most of the time you can use that stuff, like, with the exceptions of some CAD stuff, because just sometimes the CAD data doesn't translate all the way, but you can use that stuff, and you're, like, pretty golden. So, if you can do that, great, like, fuck yeah, do it. I'm up my tax form. Don't open that. Quick install. Smoothing groups. Cool. Okay, so let's look at some of this. We got some areas that are definitely going to cause problems, so let's just go ahead and clean that up. Like, that's going to cause a problem. It just will. I guess I should have left it to show you, as I've been telling you not to worry too much about topology. I'd be like, oh, look, it's screwed up. Okay, so now let's just make sure. Let's do another check on the UVs. Now, again, there's no UV sharing or any of that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about mirroring with this asset as well, just because I don't want to build another asset. And I'm sure you guys are like, for the love of God, just end the damn demo. Hey, Samir. Dude's a super talented programmer. All right, tools, smoothing groups. Okay, obviously we break this off. Now I'm just going to call this, like, I don't know, like metal thingy. That is a very descriptive name. Metal thingy. Whoa. Okay, and we'll freeze him just to make sure I don't delete him like a jackass, because I always do that. Okay, and let's go ahead and reapply that open sub D on him. Okay. And again, I'm not too worried about anything not doing 100% of what I like. I'm not going to freak out about everything. Like, again, there's a tipping point where it's like, does this really matter? Something like this. This isn't. What the hell did I like? Oh, the hell. Unhide all. There it is. There we go. I was like, that didn't look like it smoothed correctly. All right, so let's go ahead and export this guy. Again, I'm not going to worry about, like, even quadding out the high res. I don't. Like, I just don't. Like, I only do it where I need to. Like, there's no point in doing it. Like, if you don't need to do it, don't do it. And that's, like, one of the reasons why, like, I love working with 3D concept guys and, like, interacting with them and stuff. Because, like, you guys, like, Vitali, Faust, all those guys, it's like, this is what I need to do to get it to look the way I want it to look. I'm not going to dick around with topology and all that stuff. And, there's time and place for it. But I think it's really important for artists to also adopt that, like traditional artists, like not traditional artists, but like in-game guys do low to high and all that kind of stuff. There's corners and stuff you can cut. But, if you don't want to, that's totally fine too. You can, spend a bunch of time on it. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's see what's going down. We got some issues, which is fine. Right, there's always issues. That's why this stuff goes so quickly. What did I do? Wait. Why is that? Try to delete them. Okay, so let me look at this. Oh, God, I'm such a moron. So this surface is flat. Let's look at the high res. I'm like, as I'm gonna like reassemble the entire mesh. This goes down. So let's push this cage out. See if that helps. Okay. Otherwise, like we're pretty good. Like that's the only error, which is shocking. Maybe this cage pushing it that far will screw some shit up. Nope. Let's see here. Let's adjust the range. Let's do manual. Let's just push that like crazy. Damn it. It's still really far off. Right, let me just... Yeah, it's like freaking out. I don't know why it's doing that for the cage, though. That is just ridiculous. I wonder if I can just, like, tell it to use a cage, and then push that cage. No, I can't. Why the hell is it doing that? Let me close this down. That's weird. It looks like the cage got confused. Unless I selected the wrong mesh, which makes total sense. I would do something like that. High res mesh, low res mesh, at all. Let me just view the low. Of course it can't. Okay, so there's that. And it also might be freaking out because the topology is just asinine. You know what? I bet you that's exactly what it is. Let me just see this really quick. Let me pitch that, dude. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to do this like super messy, but whatever. Let's collapse that down. Maybe not like that. Maybe like this. Just because I'm feeling lazy. Collapse. See if this is going to work. Otherwise, I'm just going to make way more of a pain in the ass for myself. Let me double check the UVs on that. There's no UV break in it. Oh, there it is. Is that it? Let me see. Nope, it looked like it did it fine. Okay, well, we'll find out. I just selected the chaos group help for V-Ray. They released a new update for V-Ray, but stop doing that, Max. Jesus. The menus. Autodesk, please, for the love of God, fix your stuff. Okay, that's the V-Ray help. Not looking at porn here. Although sometimes that happens. I always worry about that. I'm like, God, am I gonna like get an email with it because like my adult stuff was up. Don't laugh. You guys do it too. The best is when you're like working with a client and something like that happens. Like, it's my home PC. I don't know what to tell you. It's multifaceted. Okay, this is still screwed up, but it's better. And this is literally how I'd figure out what to spend time on, like straight up. Okay, because like we spent 20-ish minutes on this, like so no big deal, like whatever. But now I can kind of go in and figure out what is messed up. What the hell? Oh, there it was. Again, not being too strict on anything. This stuff's flat, so it isn't really going to matter, but whatever. Just kind of clean it up as we go. Export selected. Now, again, as we're doing this, this is not the only method for generating this stuff. Okay, guys. Like there's like 50 billion methods for doing like quote unquote high poly to low poly stuff. And if I look at let me see a cage here. Yeah, it's the topology that's screwing that up. See, that's what you want to spend your time on. But as I was saying, there's a million ways to do this. Now, my NDO license took a dump, so I can't actually show you what I was going to show you in the next step, which is taking this asset that has an existing normal map and then detailing on top of it. Okay, you can do that, and there's plenty of videos online that show that, but I don't think they're gonna be able to fix. Perfect. I don't think they're gonna be able to fix my video or my license beforehand. Okay, so there's our like low res mesh. Cool. Right, and again, there's more geo than what we need here. Obviously, you guys saw the mesh. It's I'm not hiding it from you, but the the high res dude. Which one is it? Definitely not that one. Did I delete it? I always delete stuff. Why do I do that? No, I didn't. Okay. But yeah, you can even see the thing I traced around to get that hole. But yeah, it just works. And see, again, like that doesn't need to be built in. It looks totally fine as is. So yeah, hopefully you guys kind of got something out of that. Like again, you noticed where I had my UV seams, I gave a separate smoothing group for it, and that helps out tremendously for this stuff. Again, we could detail this further, taking it into NDO. My license is busted on it, so that's why actually Samir just messaged me. So if he can get that, if it's up and running, then I will be able to do stuff. If not, maybe I'll add it a little later. But again, hopefully you guys learned some fun stuff with this. Again, this mesh was super easy to make. I actually was watching Alex model. I was like, oh, he's doing some fun stuff, so I started doing it here. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this, and we'll just keep on